Hello everybody. So today we're going to start looking at coordinate geometry, which is a new topic that's quite like geometry, and because it deals with shapes. The only difference is that instead of just drawing the shapes on a sheet of paper, we draw them on something called the coordinate plane. So today we're just going to look over what the coordinate plane is and how to label points on it. So here's an example of a coordinate plane. The two most important features on the coordinate plane are the x-axis, which goes from side to side, and the y-axis, which goes from top to bottom. A third thing that's really important to notice is there's a point where they intersect. We call this the origin here. O or I, G, I, N. I should just type that up there to make it a bit clearer. So now you might be wondering what the point of the x and y axis is, since they're the basis of this whole thing. The point of the x and y axis is just that any point that we drew or want to draw, say for example I draw a point here, the x and y axis allows us to describe exactly where that point is. You'll notice that if we go right hand side, from the right hand side of the x axis, from the origin, we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have numbers corresponding to each of those boxes. If we go to the left hand side, then we have numbers as well, but they're just minuses. The minus numbers just mean we're going to the left hand side. On the y-axis, again, if we go up, we have numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just to say whereabouts or how far up that point is. And if we go down on the y-axis from the origin, we have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but they just have a minus next to them, again to show that we're going down instead of up. So let's go back to this point here. If we wanted to label this point, then the way we would do that is we would look at where it lines up in the x-axis. So I'm going to just show you in green what I'd be doing. Follow along with your finger or with a pen and just see where on the x-axis that lines up to. So that looks like it's joining or lining up to the point 3 on the x-axis. And then we do the same thing for where it joins the y-axis. Bring it across to the y-axis. That looks like it's joining up to the point 4. So we'd say the coordinates for that point, which is just our way of describing where it is 3, 4. The x-axis always comes first, the y-axis always comes second. The reason for this then is we don't need to say it's 3 on the x and it's 4 on the y. If we always do x and then y, then we'll never have to explain which one is which. Let's have a look at another point now. This time we will have a look at a point that's down here. So if we want to label this point, again, we always go onto the x-axis first. So we'll map this back to the x by drawing a little line there. And then we check out what its y-coordinate is too. So its x-coordinate is -3, where it joins up to the x-axis here. And its y-coordinate is -2. So again, x always comes first, then y. If we're unsure about what these mean, just means that on the x-axis we're going back 3. So we're going 3 left. On the y-axis we're going down 2. Again, the minus just tells you what direction it is. So we go down 1, 2 on the y-axis. I'm going to draw 2 more points now, and I want you guys to tell me what the coordinates of each of these points are. Okay, so I want you to give me the coordinates of this point first, and this point down here. You can take as long as you like, just pause the video, and when you're ready you can press play and we'll go through the answers. Alright, so point in the top left corner, when we want to label it, we're going to bring it to the x first, which is -1, then to the y-axis, which is 5. So this gives us the coordinate -1, 5. Now you have to make sure you're drawing your brackets around it, and your comma in between to separate the x coordinate and the y coordinate. For our bottom right, we're going to join it to the x-axis first, which gives us 6, and then to the y-axis, which gives us minus 6. Again, we've got to make sure we have our brackets and a comma in between to separate them. Now, one last thing before we move on. I want to see if you can come up with the coordinates for the origin. So if you had to list the x and y coordinates for the origin, two numbers in brackets with a comma in between them, what would it be? Pause the video now, and then you can press play when you're ready for the answer. So, if we go back to our origin, we try and match it up to the x-axis. Well, it's not at 1, it's not at minus 1, it's between them at 0. If we look at the y-axis, it's not on 1, it's not on minus 1, it's also between them at 0. So the coordinates for our origin is 0, 0. Some of the places the coordinate geometry is used in the world include drawing maps. So for example, if you go into Google Earth and you look for coordinates to any point on Earth, you can get them, and they are just given out in terms of an x and y coordinate, how far sideways something is, and then how far north and south it is too. Another place that probably some of you care about more is in video games. So in video games, whenever a character moves around, they will generally be on a coordinate grid system. I know the computer game doesn't tell you this, but then their location is updated as they move around the coordinate grid system. So we're going to have a look here at a little treasure map. It's pirate themed, so hopefully some of you guys are into pirates. I like them as much as I do. So we'll just have a look at some of the things here. I'm going to point them out to you, then I want you to pause the video and give me the location of that person or item. So I think the first thing we'll start with is going to be the giant squid. So can you guys please pause the video, write down the coordinates of the giant squid's location, and when you're ready, press play. So if we look at this giant squid, we can match its location up to the x-axis, which gives us 1, and the y-axis, which gives us 2. So the giant squid's coordinates are 1, 2. Next we'll have a look at this pirate down here on the bottom right. Seems to be getting away with some treasure on his back. So again, pause the video, write down the location of his coordinates, and then once you're ready, press play again. So for this pirate, if we bring his location back to the x-axis, we get 3. If we bring it back to the y-axis, we get minus 2. So that pirate's location is 3 minus 2. Next, I think we'll do Captain Redbeard over here. Again, pause the video. When you've got the coordinates written out, just press play again, and we'll see what the coordinates to his location are. Alright, so if we go to Captain Redbeard and we bring his location back to the x-axis, we see it's at minus 1. We'll bring it back to the y-axis, and it's at also minus 1. So Captain Redbeard's location is minus 1, minus 1. I think we will do 3 more. This time I'm going to ask you to pause the video, and I want you to find the location of the ship, the shark, and the treasure chest. So all 3 of them at the same time. Again, the ship, the shark, and the treasure chest. Pause the video now, and when you're ready for the answers, press play. Okay, so the ship, if we join that up to the x-axis, we get 4. If we join it to the y, we get minus 3. So we give 4 minus 3. Again, x-axis always comes first. The shark, if we join that up to the x-axis, we get minus 2. The y-axis, we get minus 1. So its coordinates are -2 and -1. And then the treasure chest is -3 on the x-axis and 1 on the y-axis. So -3, 1. Now I'm just going to give you one last one as a bit of an extra challenge. I want you to try and give me the coordinates of this volcano here, please. Again, pause until you're ready to continue. So, the coordinates of that volcano are a little bit harder because it actually lies on the axis. So if we try and see where it is on the x-axis, it's on 3. If we look at where it is on the y-axis, it actually hasn't moved up or down from the origin. It hasn't gone up as high as 1, otherwise it'd be along this line. It hasn't gone down to -1, otherwise it'll be along this line. So it's actually still on 0 on the y-axis. So our coordinates is going to be 3, 0 for that volcano.